All the water you save in a lifetime will be used as if it were nothing by a company that uses water. Daily reminder that carbon footprint was coined by an oil and gas company. They can't use my water. I have it under lock and key. And then sell it for you. Nestle.r fuck Nestle. Probably on a golf course in the desert. They're gonna use that amount of water anyway, so you're still saving water. True. And all you recycle will be tomorrow's dump into some river in a third world country. But don't stop trying to do what you can. Stay dehydrated so that we can save pennies through overconsumption instead of poison, so that we can save pennies through environmental negligence instead of sustainability. Yes, but the idea is there's billions of people, and if everybody saved their insignificant amount of water, it would add up to be significant. Whatever you do will be insignificant, but it is very important that you do it. Hi, I'm Richard Fairchild, and I am a researcher in behavioral economics. I want to understand the motives of social impact investors and social entrepreneurs who think beyond the money in their investment and business decisions. Ask me anything. Hello, Richard, your work is very interesting. I will tell you, as a future scientist, this work will be of great benefit to you and other people in the future. My question is there any formula or method that could make it clear the behavior of investors for a particular stock? Thank you in advance. Thank you all for your wonderful questions and comments today. I have really enjoyed talking to you all. Your questions have really got me thinking further about my research, and I hope that I answered all of your questions for now. See you soon. How do you say constipated in German? I find the real word much funnier. Verstopft say verstopft, meaning stuffed up. Stop and shitsen, the opposite of splatterkacken. This is the first joke I remember being told as a kid. Good to see it still going strong 30 years later. And if you want to say bra, it's hold some frumplopping. I actually had a Far From Hoeken t-shirt back when VW was doing their Far Vergnügen ads. The answers are funnier than the actual joke. Sorry op, scheislos, scheissenstoppen, shitskreg. I hear it's the worst. Booty stucken, Kochschnitzel, Puppenstoppen. Once things loosen up you can dose 'em a poop in. As a German I don't get it. I don't get it. As a German, I don't get it. Why is it always how do you say sei in German followed by a made-up word that sounds Dutch, Finnish or Estonian rather than German? Okay. My family is getting sick of me telling dad jokes 24/7. So, just a fraction of the time? 24/7 to 3.42957142857142857. That is Dutch mating. I don't care for your rounding up. You should stay away from the divisive humor. That's irrational. You should probably let the poor guy sleep once in a while. You need to truncate that attitude right now and round it up to 3.43 before it becomes an infinitely difficult issue to resolve. On a pirate scale, this joke is off the charts. Do they want to hear some too? But does he ever laugh? Dad jokes are an integral part of being a man. To expect anything else is irrational. This joke appeals to the lowest common denominator dads. You had me for a second. Here for the follow-up. Why not 3.1415 pi? One day a man, who had been stranded on a desert island for over 10 years, sees an unusual speck on the horizon. It's certainly not a ship, he thinks to himself. As the speck gets closer and closer he begins to rule out the possibilities of a small boat, then even a raft. What happened to the one where the Navy guy who had been stranded on an island for 10 years and finally walks to the other side and finds an attractive lady? She showed all the amazing things she had done, house, brewery, etc., and asks how long has it been since he had fun. He replies, OMG, you built a golf course too? Ah, a fellow redditor. Don't tell me you've got clubs in there. I really thought this was going to be, take this dog for a walk. He forgot how to use Ogle. Is that one whole golf course? Wetsuits have zippers in the back. How long since you've been fucked? 10 years. So the blonde jumped back in the sea and swam away. Redditors who have gotten genetic tests, what's the weirdest thing you learned from your DNA? The daughter I adopted and I are actually distantly related. My ancestry is exactly what I grew up being told. I have several family members who were really into genealogy. But I found out I have a first cousin we didn't know existed. Apparently, my uncle had gotten married and had a son no one knew about when he was 19 and stationed across the country that he bailed on. Someone somewhere has likely tried selling a used fleshlight. There may even be a chance someone purchased it. Knowing how fucked up this world is, there is probably someone looking specifically for a used fleshlight. There are subs in here for selling used sex toys. Realistically they can be washed and disinfected. Man shrugging. I mean, all my exes and current GF came already used too. Know someone somewhere about it. Bought one off my brother a couple weeks ago. Someone married my ex, too, so, who can resist a bargain? I've had many guys offer to buy my toys, lol. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Reminds me of Blue Mountain State when all of the men at the schools passed one around and things got very ugly. Till in 2014, Swiss Air Force could not intercept a hijacked airplane because the incident happened outside their working hours. I thought it was impossible to invade. I know it's only impossible during their working hours. We currently have at least a pair of F-18s on 15-minute standby 24 hours a day. The population was not particularly happy that a hijacked airplane could enter Swiss airspace and land in Geneva before the army could respond. They probably wanted to maintain their neutrality too. I thought perhaps the title might have been a bit sensationalized. Perhaps whatever pilots the Swiss could muster up were outside of their sleep. They were legitimately closed. The Swiss Air Force isn't a 24-hour operation. Till Robert C. Campbell, a captain in the British Army in World War I. Captured as a prisoner of war by Imperial Germany in 1914, he was held in captivity for 2 years before appealing to the Kaiser for a visit to his dying mother. He was allowed and voluntarily returned to POW camp until the end of the war. Conventional wars. Ugly, but honorable protagonists. Well, yeah, he returned. He is a gentleman, and all that. He would have thought, if I don't go back, no other officer will ever be released on this basis. This was speculation on behalf of a World War I author, but that's either incredibly prudent or incredibly naive. People had a more conventional sense of honor back then. And if he had not returned, then the Germans would have likely meted out punishment to his fellow POWs, so he was in fact rejoining his unit as he promised, for the sake of his fellow POWs. Till it is virtually impossible to die from sinking to the bottom and suffocating if you get trapped in quicksand. Is it just me, or is the world rising? Cartoons from the 50s lied to me. What if one trips and falls head first? You will die. However, if you get stuck in it at low tide. Millions of Gen Xers, you mean all those Saturday morning kids TV shows, lied to me? Wait, can someone explain why I won't die? I'm assuming this is a standing sink. Is it just that it's not deep enough, or is quicksand magic and full of that sweet goodness oxygen? It can still be deadly, because oftentimes the closest thing you'll find to real quicksand are mud flats, and every year people get stuck in those. The unlucky ones get really well stuck to their waist, and then a tide comes, you drown. I find quicksand quite erotic and have never been able to work out why. I guess I'm just a freak and a weirdo. Till one of the co-creators of Keurig machines was diagnosed with caffeine poisoning due to his daily 30 to 40 cup coffee habit. Reminds me of Eisenhower. Dude was drinking like 20 cups a day on top of 3 packs of cigs a day. How he survived long enough to become president is beyond me. Jesus, that's an addiction for sure. Oh my god, just do coke. His heart must have sounded like one long continuous buzz. That's low end. 50 milligrams of caffeine per cup. 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of caffeine per day. The FDA considers 400 milligrams per day to be the limit without adverse effects. I drink 200 milligrams, and I can feel the blood vessels contracting in my face. This guy was. Till one of the reasons LBJ didn't pursue another presidential term 1969-1973 was because an actuarial committee accurately predicted he would die at age 64, when he would still be in office. He died 2 days after the 1973 inauguration. Damn, he was in his early 60s when he was in his office? Crap diets, no cardio, and smoking really do it to you. I had no idea they had committees predicting presidents' deaths. I want to clarify that the committee didn't predict that he would die in office per se, just that he would die at age 64. LBJ turned 64 on August 27, 1972, at which time he would have been president if re-elected. I originally wrote potentially while in office, but the automod didn't like the word potentially. Till that as the USS Franklin was returning to Pearl Harbor for repairs after surviving multiple kamikaze hits, the captain refused to allow the harbor pilot to dock the aircraft carrier, wanting to do it himself. He proceeded to immediately crash the ship into the dock. I think some of the more interesting things about the ship happened after that, including the whole thing about declaring sailors as deserters. From the article, is this the captain who tried to court-martial sailors for being blown overboard during an attack? If you don't know, most harbors have dedicated pilots who drive boats in. Despite a captain's skill, he typically doesn't know anything about the currents or topology of the local harbor. So, they shuttle a pilot out to bring the boat in. This has been the de facto operation at busy harbors for over a century. Till, the average through hiker on the Appalachian Trail spends $10,000 during their 5-month hike. $65 a dried food is expensive, and hiking burns a lot of calories. $40 a day on food might be reasonable. It costs way more than that to not hike the Appalachian Trail for 5 months. I did it in 6 months and it only cost me about $3,000 in 2006. And that was with a pretty generous booze-weed budget. Embarrassed smiley face. I ate Lipton pasta sides right out of the bag with hot water, oatmeal, and a shitload of Snickers bars. Best 6 months of my life, and most affordable too, TBH. The older generations often criticize the youth for being lazy and unmotivated, yet they have created infinite barriers in professions and hobbies, making it almost impossible for younger people to succeed without their approval. This is a feature, not a bug. Boomers and often their children are obsessed with control. Why, I haven't quite figured out yet, but the effect is that they stacked things that predicate success on their approval, and when they say that youth are lazy and unmotivated, they're really criticizing the non-participation in their power games. Refusing to seek their approval necessarily means failure. Well, now this is going to be a well-reasoned and thoughtful conversation, I just know it. This is the world that older generation built. They just don't want to accept that they failed. I can understand work, but what barriers to hobbies are you thinking of? This has always existed. We just watched the Tetris movie. It started off pretty slow, then it really started coming together. I hear they had a lot of trouble writing it because every time they finished a line, it disappeared. I'll bet Square's like you really flipped for that. I found it very puzzling. The plot was full of holes. Bet you couldn't get the soundtrack out of your mind after. The storyline fits well. Took a while, but then that one-liner dropped. The box office numbers really stacked up fast. Everything on the screen kept rotating and nothing seemed to fit. It's dropping blocks till it drops off the block. It didn't seem like it was all it was stacked up to be. I'm still trying to piece it together. We pay to watch ads. And it's fucking ridiculous. Technically always have since cable was invented. It's the beautiful cycle of companies creating a problem then selling you the solution to that problem. It's fucked. You pay to connect to the internet. None of the content on the internet is paid for with the money that you pay to your internet service provider. Ads are what keep the actual content on the internet free. If there were no ads, who would you propose to pay for the servers and for all of the content that you consume? Sure, it didn't dawn on you when you copy-pasted a post from another sub? Just wait until you hear about cable TV. Same with TV. You pay the set, the channels, and still get to see ads. What celebrities actually look better older than they did when they were young? The dude that played Neville Longbottom, Steve Carell. Pedro Pascal was a goofy-looking teenager. Gillian Anderson. She was always pretty but not really my type in the X-Files days. Then I saw her in Hannibal. She aged beautifully. Angela Bassett, romantic face. Kate Blanchett and Kate Winslet. I think Timothy Olyphant has always been handsome. But now, holy Christ, is he fine. Days of Our Lives. Jensen Ackles has nothing on Supernatural or The Boys. Jensen Ackles. Marissa Tomei. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she was always attractive but she's aged very well. Stunner. Paul Rudd, although you could argue he hasn't really aged all that much anyway. Robert Downey was weird looking in his 20s. Post-prison though, A-OK hand. Eugene Levy. Patrick Dempsey, and I'm a dude. The guy was almost typecast as a geeky misfit. What is a fact that you learned in grade school that has been disproven? When I was little, I was taught about the Brontosaurus, mighty long-necked plant eater of the. I was taught that, whoops, they accidentally stuck some random bones together and there was never any such still. I recall hearing that. Oh, actually, there was a Brontosaurus after all. Or was this day? I am still, as a 42-year-old man, unclear on whether or not there was ever such a thing as a Brontosaurus. I was taught that in college you will spend all of your study time in a library reading and researching using books and reference catalogs. The internet was evil and full of lies and not a valid resource for academic research. In the early 80s we were told that we would soon use the metric system in the weighting. Tongue maps. Back in my day, Pluto was still a planet. That carrots make your eyesight better. This was in the early 90s. Gum doesn't sit in your system for 7 years. What is the craziest thing you have done or seen in Vegas? Woman with one titty completely hanging out playing slots. Was gonna tell her, then thought maybe she was sweating and airing them out. Saw my husband get peed on by one of Siegfried and Roy's white tigers. Flava Flav standing in line at the post office. Corey and I were walking from Caesars to the Venetian, and something at a distance caught my eye. I smiled and went to point it out to her, and as I'm doing it, this guy walking in the opposite direction of us smiled and went to shake my hand, probably thinking I was a fan who spotted him. He quickly figured out I wasn't gesturing at him at all, put his head down and kept on walking past. Then did I realize it was Corey Feldman. My buddy spent 3 hours at the Spearmint Rhino. Came crying to me at the end of the night that he just bought a girl a small sedan. Didn't even get her number. I'm like, WTF. Go back and get it. What's one thing you should never ask a maths teacher about? All their problems. Fermat's last theorem? I'm divided on these posts. They lack a common denominator. What their sign is, their X's, and why I'm always supposed to find them. Constipation. Because they work it out with a pencil. Anything but pies. They'll go rambling about it forever. Yup, if you factor in everything this really adds up. Just one them and move on. All of their X's, just too many. Always the X's. Homework, because if you don't he might forget. Do you maths debate? Actually teachers die too. It might give you an identity crisis. Don't ask where your X is. And especially don't ask why. Maths. That's funnier than the punchline, why they have bad breath. What's your favorite SNL skit? Celebrity Jeopardy was always a treat. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, Corksuckers, Dunkin' Donuts with Casey Affleck, Norm as Burt Reynolds on Jeopardy. So many great ones past and present. Meet Your Second Wife always cracks us up. Career Day with Adam Driver. Tom Hanks in Black Jeopardy. I drive a Dodge Stratus. James Brown Hot Tub. Is it hot? Will it make me sweat? Out too hot in the hot tub. Chris Farley is an inspirational speaker who lives in a van down by the river. For me it's the Disney World breakfast with Lindsay Lohan and Debbie Downer. Oh my god, I cry of laughter every time. The one with Kate McKinnon and Ryan Gosling where they were abducted by aliens. Trebek vs Connery. Hands down, 100. Colin Blow was pretty good too. The Vanessa Bayer Totino's trilogy of skits is pretty hard to top. Your username is now a company. What do you sell? Exactly what it says on the sign, pal. Order at your own risk. Not liable for damages. No refunds. Sorry, but I can't disclose that information. Darkness. Every day. Coffee. Everything. But we will always mix up and ship you the wrong order. People say I can't sell them anymore. Mediocre laxatives. Zebras, dolphins, walruses, and seals. $19 each. Lumber. Teeth. And not very good ones either. I kidnap mothers and ransom them back to their children. I don't like this game. Fans. Ceiling fans. Hand fans, tower fans, window fans, pedestal fans, and no stands. Finally, my time to shine. Female gymnasts from England. Refrigerators Lamau. You don't want to know. You've just won $800 million and it's been deposited in your bank account. What are you going to do? Quit work. Tell nobody about the money. Move to rural Oregon and spend the rest of my days riding dirt bikes and gardening. Rub one out. Post-nut clarity is a thing. Jerk off and then order so much food and eat it all and then take a nap. When I wake up, then I'll start making the adult decisions. New phone, who dis? From now on, 800 million? I'm not doing a full FU walk out of work but a respectable I'm done in the middle of my shift. Then I'm going back to my couch and finally beating the fire giant in Elden Ring. FOOD, hire a financing consultant because I don't know shit about managing that much money, and I'd be afraid to lose it, spend it overnight. Never tell a soul. Then figure it out. Call a team meeting at the manager to go fuck. Quit work. So long, suckers.